Hi, my name is Tyler Patton, and I'm here with fellow Magic player TJ Love on his modern deck tech of Lantern Control. What's your reasoning behind building Lantern Control, and what caught your eye?
Well, I've always been a big fan of the deck. Like I said, back in Grand Prix OKC 2K15, me, Joseph Dunlap, and Zach Elsick all kind of like pitched in the ideas on making this deck, and I never really got the chance to play it. But just from the fact that it felt like the Affinity deck I was playing just before that, but it was more of a control aspect, it seemed a lot more fun. Of course, it's not fun for other people, and I apologize for that in advance. But yeah, for the most part, I've always been like that big control player, and this felt like the Affinity deck still. So I just kind of I stepped on the idea as soon as we had it, and we sat we sat down. I think it was a Thursday night. I can't remember. It was the night before an FNM that Zach was going to go play a FNM with it, and he really liked the idea of ensnaring bridge and just basically kill spells like the abrupt decay, pyroclasm. But we wanted to kind of go deeper into the idea that it was a modern, like that modern feel, because it didn't seem too strong at first. But then we decided that going with the Lantern of Insight package along with the mill, it was a little bit more consistent, and it was also not only just the better win con, but having actual control over the top decks that your opponents have is a little bit stronger.
I was wondering, what are your best stats probably with the deck, and what are your worst?
Um, Infect, Burn. Okay, let me rephrase. Infect is probably one of the better ones. Most aggro decks, I would probably say, because like Ensnaring Bridge is just a house. Uh, Ensnaring Bridge is definitely one of the biggest cards in the deck. Like, if I have two Mill Rocks or a Lantern and a Mill Rock, I will aggressively mill because two Academy Ruins allow for you to mill the bridge away and then put it back on top of your library. But the in terms of matchups, it's pretty much any aggro matchup. Like Zoo is very good, Infect's very good. Like probably, and I say Burn was a good matchup. It's pretty halfway because, like I said, they tend to go for your face a lot more than most other decks do. But just basic aggro decks like I said, it's very good against Infect. Any deck that Ensnaring Bridge just straight stops is a very good matchup. Uh, the hand disruption makes it pretty decent against Grixis control as well, and the Thermo Thing decks. I say thing. The Thing in the Ice decks that play like all the what are they called? The Lightning Helixes, the Lightning Bolts, the Pyromancer Ascension decks. That's what I meant to say. Well, but it's probably just a pretty just. It's very good position against like Affinity too. Pretty much like I said, just all aggro decks.
Um, where would you rank it in the current modern meta, and potentially in the future modern meta?
Would you like a tier?
Yes.
Personally, I think it is a very solid tier. Before we got the banning news a week or two ago, I would definitely say it was about a tier 1.75. It was not fully tier 1. It wasn't really quite tier 1.5. Because tier 1.5, I felt like was with just Dredge, which, like I said, we no longer have to really worry about. But honestly, I would say after the bannings and with this new format coming out, I think it's a solid 1.5, if not a little higher, with the idea that now the meta is slowing down. Everyone's wanting to obviously play Jund and Fatal Push and everything. And while this deck does have a slightly bad matchup against Jund and Abzan, because their hand disruption on turn 1 is a lot worse for me than mine is for them. But yeah, for the most part, I would seriously consider this between 1.5 and 1.25, just out of the fact that now that the format is slowing down and Dredge was probably its biggest problem because all they had to do was main board in all of their hate that I side in for. Like I side in a bunch of artifact hate, like Grafdigger's Cage and whatnot. But with their ability to remove any of the artifacts like the bridge, they usually don't care about what I do. Like at any time they could just one mana Nature's Claim and kill my bridge, I'm dead. But now that deck, like I said, now that the format is slowing down, everyone's wanting to play Fatal Push. The only real target I have in my deck is Spellskite, and feels bad, man.
How old is the deck Mulligan?
Mulligan's probably one of the better decks. It's one of the better decks mulliganing down. With 4 Ancient Stirrings, you're able to tutor. You also have 2 copies of Inventor's Fair. For those of you that don't know, because it's kind of a not too common card. Taps for a colorless mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 3 or more artifacts in play, you gain a life. And you're allowed to pay 4 and sack it. Pay 4, tap it, and sack it. If you have 3 more artifacts, and you get to tutor for any artifact and put it in your hand. So the deck very, very well can mulligan pretty aggressively. Like it's because Ancient Stirrings finds lands, and with the ability to, and the mana just being like 4 Glimmer Void, and most of my sources playing green, I can normally always rely on Ancient Stirrings on turn 1. So mulliganing down to 5 is very easy if I know what I need to find with my Stirrings. Now, if I have, like, if I mulligan down to like 6 or 5 and I have like a bunch of hand disruption, I can, it's very, very close, but I could probably mulligan the 4. And then as long as you get a land, the deck can resilience itself, and if you can find a bridge before turn 3. If you don't find bridge, that's like the biggest thing. If you don't, mulliganing down the lower card numbers is very, very good. In that sense, it's very good in the sense that you can do it, because the lower amount of the deck likes to not have so many cards in their hand anyway. Because in Snaring Bridge, I don't want any cards in my hand 90% of the time. So if I'm still able to get at least a turn 3 bridge, mulliganing down is not that bad.
All right. What card do you consider in the current Modern format to be your biggest enemy?
My biggest enemy is Jund for sure. Like I said, it's about a halfway matchup, or just pretty much any deck that does not interact. Titan Shift is a pretty matchup. Jund, Abzan, the Nahiri decks, they are a little bit harder, but this deck has a much better resilience to the Nahiri decks opposed to the other ones, because their main win con is Emrakul with the Nahiri combo, and with Ensnaring Bridge, Emrakul just never gets to do anything. But the main problem for the deck, I would say, is just hand disruption, which is probably going to be plentiful in this next format. But like I said, I will be playing, personally, I'll be playing 3 Leyline of Sanctity in my sideboard, and that will probably protect me from Jund, at least not until past turn. Because most of the Jund decks don't play any specific removal for Leyline. They pretty much just play Abrupt Decay, which that doesn't hit. Whereas my hate for them is just straight up more graveyard recursion. You don't really even have to board for it. It's more of just targeting their hand full of their threats that actually hurt me. Whereas, if they want to play a Liliana, I really don't care, because all they're going to do is make me discard things I probably want out anyway. But when they're able to Thoughtseize me turn 1 and take an Ancient Stirrings, like I said, when I mulligan down against game 1, if I mulligan down with keeping a 1-lander with Ancient Stirrings, it's normally safe. But if I get turn 1 Inquisitioned or Thoughtseize and they take Ancient Stirrings, I'm in a lot of trouble. So I guess it's just depending on Jund and Abzan are probably my worst matchups, but it depends on if I'm on the play or on the draw.
One more thing I have. Go more into detail with the win cons of the deck for the people who aren't familiar with Lantern Control.
Okay, so the deck has, my specific version has 3 different win cons. The first one is to have Lantern of Insight, as well as Ghoulcaller's Bell, Codex Shredder, and Pixis Pandemonium. They're all very resilient threats to main board of Modern. Lantern of Insight is an artifact from 5th Dawn that allows you to, it shows both of the cards off the top of each player's library. So you play artifacts like Codex Shredder and Ghoulcaller's Bell, which Ghoulcaller's Bell and Pixis of Pandemonium as well. They both allow both players to mill the top card off their library. Pixis specifically exile, and then Codex Shredder's target player mills 1 card off their library. So the object of the deck is to either use the Lantern of Insight milling combo to make sure they only draw cards you want them to draw, because if you're having a problem with them, if they're having a problem finding lands, then you immediately just don't let them draw any lands anymore. Yeah, the whole deck, that whole win con is Fate Seal. But the other slight win cons that a lot of people don't play, these are more of like a meta call, I would say. Uh, there are a lot of versions out there that play like the Crucible Worlds Ghost Quarter combo. But my three win cons have come down to the obvious liner combo, and then I have one of Gerfer Aethergrid, which is a enchantment from Magic Origins that it says tap 2 untapped artifacts you control, deal 1 damage. That card is actually very, very good. I just recently started playing with it, and I like the fact that not only is it an alternate win con for me, I can tap like bridges and lanterns when I don't ever really need to tap them to get like extra damage in. It's a very good card to have sitting back, as well as being able to answer Ornithopter and Noble Hierarch if they have the ability to slip through that last bit of damage. Because Noble Hierarch and Ornithopter both can swing through bridge no matter how many cards I have in hand. But and then the last win con is the Academy Ruins Pirate Spellbomb combo, which is for those that don't know, Pirate Spellbomb is a 1-drop artifact that you pay red and you can deal 2 damage to a creature player, or pay any color mana and sacrifice it to draw a card. But the idea of the deck is once you have them locked down with Ensnaring Bridge and the Lantern combo where you can control their top deck, the idea is to sit there and shoot them with the Pirate Spellbomb end of turn, and then immediately use Academy Ruins and put it back on top, and then you draw it next turn, and then you just loop that cycle over and over until you do 2 damage every turn.
Well, thank you for doing the deck tech with us. Uh, I would say overall, it's a really controlly deck, and anyone who likes slow-paced control games should play it. And do you have anything else to add before?
I really like this deck. I would not recommend it to people first getting into Modern. The deck has an extreme amount of decision making. But like I said, like you play Main Board Pithing Needle, you have no idea what you're playing against. It's not correct for you if you're a brand new player. If you're very familiar with the format and you really enjoy control decks or Prism style decks, I really, really recommend this deck because there's different variations of it. There's different like color variations. You can play like a blue splash instead of the red splash that I play, and you can play like Witness Green from Kaladesh. There's just a lot of different iterations of this deck, and there's no one's really pinpoint which version you're playing because blue also brings Fire Magic, red brings like Pyroclasm and Spellbomb. Like the deck has many different outs and ins, and it all depends on what version you're playing, and no one can board against that. And my favorite part about this deck is you have a lot of resilient sideboards.
Okay.
But overall, I really enjoy the deck. I recommend it to people who are looking for a challenge deck that has very little hate for. But I would definitely stay away if you are not the control type person, or definitely not if you're a new player to the format.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in for the modern deck tech video for Lantern Control, and we'll see you next week with another deck tech.